Hello, everyone. Welcome back. As you may hear, I am still sick. My voice sounds, I feel like, a little worse than it did the last time I was recording. But I'm still not better, and it is a gloomy, rainy day today. So once again, excuse the audio if my voice is sounding a little rough, because it is. I have a sore throat. It's it's something else. But I do have some nice warm tea here to hopefully help my throat while I'm recording this, because I really wanted to get this video out. I've just been sitting around here and I've been researching all of these cases, and I just can't not tell you guys about them. And today I'm actually going to be covering a missing persons case that has gotten little to no recognition from everything that I've seen. And that is the disappearance of 22-year-old Jolissa Fuentes from Selma, California. And when I say little to no recognition, I mean that the only person that I've really seen cover this case and that brought this case up to my attention is Annie Elise from 10 to Life. She covered it really recently, and it also brought me back to Adventures with Purpose, who was involved with the Kiely Rodni case. So if you've heard anything really about the Kiely Rodni case, you should recognize Adventures with Purpose. Adventures with Purpose is actually the organization and the people that ended up locating Kiely Rodni's vehicle and her body. And again, I didn't hear anyone really talk about this case other than Annie, and when I heard about it, I was extremely interested into why no one's really talking about this, and I took a really deep dive. I spent all morning researching this case, and now I am sitting here ready to tell you all the story of Jolissa. And it's not like this is a brand new case. This happened on August 7th. Jolissa's been missing for almost 2 months now. So I really wanted to take the chance after spending all morning researching this case and getting to know Jolissa and her family and really diving into it so that hopefully we can continue to spread the word about her and hopefully Jolissa can be brought home.
New at 11, a Selma family is asking for your help in locating their missing daughter. 22-year-old Jolissa Fuentes was seen last Sunday at an AM/PM gas station.
Our family's not complete. It's not complete without her. We're incomplete till she comes home.
Jolissa Fuentes was born and raised in Selma, California, and she graduated from Selma High School. I seen that she had multiple siblings, and she was living at her grandmother's home at the time of her disappearance. Her mother was currently living in Fresno, California, but her and her siblings would frequently go and visit her mother. And from all accounts, she loved to be with her family, and they were all very close. Her cousin Sky saying, when she's around, you can't be sad, you can't be mad, you can't hold grudges. She would be like, get over it, like we're family, leave it alone. Jolissa is also described as a very sarcastic person. She doesn't take things too seriously, and she was always joking around about something. And from all accounts, it was always a good time when Jolissa was around. She was carefree, she doesn't care what people think about her. Her aunt also described her as a worker bee, which is why they were all very concerned when Jolissa didn't show up for work, because Jolissa wouldn't miss work. She was actually employed at Custom Produce in Parlier for almost 2 years at the time of her disappearance. Her cousin Sky actually worked there as well, and her aunt was actually the manager of the produce packing house. Jolissa's family also described her as very financially responsible. She actually saved up money to buy her car in cash, the vehicle that she went missing in actually, and she was very proud of being able to do that. Her family also talked a lot about how Jolissa liked to go for drives. She also liked to visit beaches and local lakes such as Avocado Lake and Pine Flat Lake, which we're going to touch on a little bit more later. Her cousin Sky saying that Jolissa liked to go out for drives and go to these places so that she could clear her mind. And I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. I know personally I don't have a vehicle, but I would love to go for walks and put in my headphones, listen to music when I wanted to clear my mind or get some inspiration. And I could name you like 10 people that I know just personally that love to get in their vehicle and go for drives and blast their music, like especially at nights when it's kind of like a vibe. Sometimes they go with friends, sometimes they go by themselves, and you just go and relax and just chill out. And that's what it seemed like Jolissa liked to do, just to go for these drives in the countryside there and to go visit these lakes and sit there and just relax. Now, despite having her license, Jolissa was actually terrified of driving on the freeway. I don't blame her because the freeway scares me personally, and I don't know how people drive on it. But that would mean that Jolissa would then take a lot of back roads to get to her destinations that she would like to go to. It also is noted that Jolissa was not in a relationship at the time of her disappearance. Her family and friends also said that she wasn't into any hard drugs to their knowledge, and that there wasn't really any hard drugs in their family other than just like the occasional like social drinking. Now, I think that paints a really good picture of who Jolissa is. Now let's get into the night that she disappeared. Jolissa was last seen at her best friend's family's gathering, which was at a house that was just down the street from her grandmother's house. Now, according to her cousin Sky, Jolissa got into an argument with her best friend there that night, but it was quickly dismissed that it was not a physical fight. It was just a normal like friend-to-friend little argument, and that there's no red flags with it there. So I just wanted to bring that up because it was something talked about. But family and law enforcement have both talked to that best friend, and she's been interrogated. And as far as everyone knows, there was no red flags. It was just a normal little spat between friends. That the air should be cleared with that. That shouldn't have anything to do with Jolissa's disappearance, and it isn't a red flag. So Jolissa was last seen when she left that family friend's party at 3 a.m. and she went home. When she got home, that is when she called her brother Joey to let him know that she was going to go over to the AM/PM Arco gas station down the street. Now, one thing that Jolissa's family said is that Jolissa was very communicative and that she was always letting people know where she was going, what she was up to. So after that call to her brother, Jolissa ended up going to that Arco AM/PM gas station, and that is where she is seen on surveillance footage. That's where we get the last confirmed financial transaction and sighting of Jolissa and her vehicle, which is a silver 2011 Hyundai Accent. At approximately 4:06 a.m., surveillance footage at the gas station shows Jolissa getting out of her car, entering the gas station, and this is where she is seen inside purchasing what is said to be a cigar, and then she is returning to her vehicle. After that, she makes a left outside of the gas station. Now that left is very important because according to Jolissa's family, if she was heading back home after the gas station, she would have had to make a right out of the gas station to go back home. So where was Jolissa heading and why was she making a left? Also, I was just thinking about it now that I'm reiterating all of this to you all. It said at 3 a.m. she headed from the party back home, which was only down the street from her grandmother's home. She called her brother and then she went to the gas station. But all of that wouldn't take an hour. So what transpired in that hour? Were there any text conversations she was having with someone that maybe she was planning on meeting up with them? And I say that because when we discuss where her phone pinged, there's a lot of questions about her driving up there and if she's the only one in the vehicle. But when she leaves the gas station, she's the only one in the vehicle. I just find like these lapses of time are just very strange. And there's going to be more, so we'll get to that. Now, this is where things get odd. The next time that Jolissa used her phone was at 5:26 a.m., and that's when she attempted to FaceTime her sister. But her sister was asleep, so she didn't answer the call. Why was Jolissa attempting to FaceTime her sister at such an early hour in the morning? And where was she when she did this? Again, another hour lapse in time. Later that morning, Jolissa's grandmother would wake up, get ready, and go to church, and she'd send Jolissa a text. Jolissa would never answer that text, so after church, Jolissa's grandmother would again attempt to text her, but she again got no response. So that's when her grandmother ended up texting her something along the lines of, if you don't call or text me, I'm going to contact the FBI, which the family described as like a kind of like a family joke where when the kids wouldn't respond fast enough, they'd kind of threaten them like, answer me right now or we're going to call the FBI. But unfortunately, this time it wouldn't be a joke because again, there was no answer from Jolissa and this was very out of character. Grandma ended up contacting Jolissa's mother, telling her that she didn't come home and she wasn't answering her phone. So they packed up and they immediately headed from Fresno down to Selma. From that morning on, whenever they tried to attempt to call Jolissa's phone, it would go straight to voicemail. So on Sunday, August 7th, Jolissa Fuentes would be reported missing by her grandmother. Now, it seems kind of lost to what the police did to first start searching for Jolissa. And we will learn from the family's perspective that they felt like they were doing all of the searching and the police weren't doing much and they weren't really caring. But before I get to all of that, I want to speak about where Jolissa's phone pinged because we're just going to go back and try to trace her steps on where Jolissa went after she left that AM/PM gas station. Police would track Jolissa's phone, and they would determine that she had last drove through Sanger, which is a town on the way to where it last would end up pinging near Avocado and Pine Flat Lake, somewhere between 5:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. with approximate distance of 15 miles, which was an area that Jolissa did like to go and decompress. On top of that, it would be estimated to take about an hour for Jolissa to drive from that gas station up to the Avocado Lake area. So what's called into question now is what happened at that 4:06 a.m. when she spotted at the gas station to when her phone last pinged over in the area of the Pine Flat Lake and Avocado Lake area. So let's just take a second to think this through. If she left that gas station and drove north over to those lakes, it would estimate that it would take her about an hour, so she'd arrive there around 5 a.m. kind of time. And then that FaceTime call came around 5:30-ish to her sister. So what was she doing during that hour? Did she stop somewhere along the way to pick someone up? It's questioned. Did she just want to go for like a joyride out there in the night after the party? But then it brings the question, why would she FaceTime her sister just after she arrived up there? What did she want to talk to her sister about at 5:30 in the morning? So the day after Jolissa went missing on that Monday morning, her Aunt Sandra ended up going and waiting outside of Jolissa's work to see if she would show up to work. Because again, Jolissa wasn't the kind of person to skip work. Unfortunately, Jolissa did not show up to work on that Monday, and everyone knew that something had to be really wrong. And again, Jolissa worked. She had money saved. Her family described her as a saver. It's not like she didn't have money to spend if she, was going on a road trip for whatever reason. But there is no financial paper trail to say that she is out there just on a joyride or decided to go on, a week trip somewhere just for whatever reason and, is buying lunch, staying at hotels, et cetera, et cetera. There's nothing after that gas station purchase. Since the day Jolissa went missing, her family has been out there searching from sunup to sundown.
Trying to find anything, any belongings of my daughter, whether it was her purse, any of her clothing, her car, and I hate to say it, even my daughter herself.
They searched everything from fields to ditches, to abandoned houses, to vineyards, and they were doing that for over a week. They had family friends with helicopters and drones come in to help search the area. And while all of this is happening, the family didn't really hear that much from the police, which is understandable. It's an open investigation. It's really fresh. It's really new. The cops don't know who to trust, who to tell what. They're not going to give out any information in case someone is involved, which is, I'm not saying anyone is involved in the family. That's just standard practice. But the family is claiming that the cops did not search for that first week. They say that they searched everywhere and they didn't once run into a police officer or an officer that came and helped them with the searches. And they also claim that while they were doing these searches all over the area and the surrounding towns, they would hand out flyers. And whenever they would see law enforcement around, they would also hand the law enforcement flyers. And these officers had no clue who Jolissa was or that she was even missing, meaning that the authorities in Selma weren't communicating to other areas that Jolissa was missing, and they weren't really taking it seriously that she was missing. The family feels that they were taking this more seriously than the cops were. This family was genuinely worried about their loved one, and they were doing everything in their power to try to find her. And still nothing was found. Jolissa's family is incredibly strong, and my heart goes out to them. I wish I could be out there helping them search. And I know everyone watching this right now also wishes they could be out there helping them search. Now, Adventures with Purpose said that they actually spoke with law enforcement, and there was a bit of a different story. They were told by police that they had done a lot of searching in the hills, and they had drove over 700 miles of back roads, but the family claims that this was a whole week after they had done their own searches, which just shouldn't happen. Now, the family does say that the Selma police force is really small, and they know that this is a really big case for something like them to handle, so they're trying not to be too hard on them. But it's just wild to me when law enforcement doesn't take a family's pleas when they say someone is missing. This isn't like them. They didn't just go for a joyride and just, decide not to come home. Something happened to them. It's not taken seriously because they're an adult. And I see it happen a lot even with children. And I feel like in this day and age, that shouldn't still be happening. Now, this made me a little angry because after all of the search efforts by the family, in a live press conference, so not even the law enforcement in contacting the family to tell them this. They heard this in a live news press conference. Police came out and said in this news conference that Jolissa's vehicle was spotted returning to Selma. You heard me right. Meanwhile, Jolissa's poor family is out there searching for weeks, trying to find their missing loved one. And they're possibly looking in the wrong areas because now, according to law enforcement, yes, her phone pinged all the way up at these lakes. So they're searching literally from here, all in the surrounding area, an hour's worth of driving away. But now they're saying that her vehicle was spotted somewhere returning into Selma. But on top of that, law enforcement, which again, I understand, they're not gonna let these things slip because it's still an active investigation, but they won't say where she entered back into Selma. They won't verify if she was the one driving the vehicle. They also won't say what time and when her vehicle was spotted entering back into Selma. I feel like that's some critical information that even the public should know so that they can look out for where she could be or where her vehicle could be. Now, her vehicle returned by herself, but are they confirming when they say that it was Jolissa in this footage, however they know that her vehicle returned? But then if her vehicle returned back to Selma, where's the vehicle? This is a small town. This isn't a huge city like New York City or Los Angeles or something. This is a smaller town. You'd be able to find her vehicle in this small town, you'd think. Especially since in small towns, everyone's gossiping with everyone. Everyone knows what their neighbor's doing. You think they would know where this vehicle went if it entered back into town and stayed there. But with this information, if Jolissa did go for a joyride after she went and got a cigar or whatever she got at the gas station, went north over for her joyride up to, Avocado Lake area, and then came back, what happened in that time frame from when she came back? And where is she now? If she did indeed come back to town, she would have had to come back into town at least 6:30 a.m. or later because She made that phone call allegedly somewhere up near Avocado Lake, and it would have been an hour drive back down to Selma, so at least 6:30. And that's if she only drove up there and drove back and like didn't spend any time up there, which what would the point be unless you're just, I guess going a loop. It also makes me wonder if her vehicle was spotted coming back into Selma, why didn't her phone ping back in Selma? Why was her phone going to voicemail all that morning? If her phone was dead, she would have plugged it in somewhere if she was fine. Unless possibly something did happen to her up in the Avocado Lake area, somewhere up there. Maybe she picked someone up along the way. Something happened. They drove her vehicle back down. And that's why her phone last pinged up there, because that's the last place she actually was. It's all speculation, but what does that mean to you all? There's just so many questions. Adventures with Purpose ended up jumping on this case, and that's where we get the interview with her cousin, her mom, and her aunt. And we get a lot of information from that interview that I think is really important, and I definitely recommend you all watching it down below. I'll have part 1 and 2 linked down below where they go and they search the lakes, which we're going to talk about in a second. But AWP is a team that does water searches mainly in cold cases for missing people. They use sonar and scanners as well as dive into bodies of water, searching to locate vehicles and missing people. And as I mentioned in the beginning, they assisted in the Kiely Rodni case. They were the ones that located Kiely's vehicle and her body, and they found her in a lake that she was last known to be near. AWP also has a YouTube channel where they document all of these searches. They're not just like some random people going out there with, a little boat and like a little scanner trying to get some clout in a YouTube video. Like, they're official. They have like proper equipment. They work with law enforcement. It's not just like a gimmick. So I recommend you definitely go check them out. It's very interesting what they're doing, and they're solving quite a few cases, and they're doing great work. Hats off to them. So AWP ended up jumping in and attempting to search all of the nearby lakes that her phone last pinged near to try to help law enforcement and Jolissa's family to kind of clear the air whether or not Jolissa somehow ended up in those bodies of water.
So we have these cars that are parked over here. So any of this area where cars can get to is a potential area that her vehicle could have made an entry, whether that's on accident, on purpose, or if someone would have intentionally put her vehicle in here. A lot of fish. A lot of fish.
So they worked in conjunction with the police, and they ended up looking at Avocado Lake as well as Pine Flat Lakes to help rule out if Jolissa was in those bodies of water. In the end, they ended up not finding Jolissa or her vehicle in the water, which on one hand is great. That means she's somewhere out there. On the other hand, it could have brought closure if she was in the water, and it would have been great for the family to have that closure. But now they have the knowledge that it's most likely she is not in that water and she's somewhere else out there. They need to look elsewhere for her. So it does help narrow things down for law enforcement. But that means if Jolissa's not in that water, where is she? Was she in the vehicle that returned to Selma, or was someone else driving her vehicle that returned to Selma? I have so many questions, but that is one that I'm very interested in. I want to know more about her vehicle returning to Selma. And that's the one thing that police aren't talking about, which is so frustrating. Jolissa Fuentes is 5'3" and 180 pounds at the time of her disappearance. She's Hispanic and was last seen in her 2011 silver Hyundai with California license plates. If you have any information, please contact the resources I have linked down below. Jolissa needs to be brought home. Her family is out there doing everything they can. Law enforcement seems to have something. They're just not saying things. But if someone out there knows something, please contact the authorities. Let's bring Jolissa home. Again, my heart goes out to Jolissa's family. As I stated in the beginning of this video, Jolissa's case isn't getting talked about much. So if you see this video, please share it on your social medias, your Facebooks, TikTok, wherever you do social media. Tell your friends about it. If you know anyone in California or in that area, please tell them about it. I'm going to let my best friend know. My best friend lives in Riverside County in California. That's nowhere near where Jolissa went missing, but it is in California. So I'm going to let her know just in case, for whatever reason. Maybe she knows someone, or one of her friends knows someone that lives near that area, or sees something in California that they can speak up about it. With that, I'm going to end it here because I am gradually losing my voice as I'm doing this video. But again, I really wanted to get it out because it's extremely important. No one's talking about it. I really want to help spread the word about this because Jolissa's out there somewhere and she needs to be found. So if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified when I do updates about this case. With that, I'm going to let you all go. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next case. Bye.